Maria Santos had always been different from other girls in her small Texas town. While her friends painted their nails and talked about boys, she spent her afternoons in the backyard with her grandfather's old rifle, practicing her aim-on tin cans lined up on the fence. Her father, a former Marine, had taught her to shoot when she was just 8 years old. He said it was important for a girl to know how to protect herself, but Maria discovered something more than protection in those shooting sessions. She found her calling. The local gun range became Maria's second home. Every weekend, she would arrive early in the morning when the dew was still fresh on the grass, carrying her rifle case and a determined expression. The range owner, Old Pete, had watched her grow from a scrawny kid who could barely hold a rifle steady to a teenager who could hit a target at 300 yards without breaking a sweat. Pete often shook his head in amazement, telling anyone who would listen that he had never seen natural talent like Maria's. When Maria turned 18, she made a decision that shocked her entire family. Instead of accepting the scholarship to study nursing at the local college, she announced that she wanted to join the military. Her mother cried for 3 days straight, convinced that her daughter was throwing her life away. Her father, though proud, worried about sending his little girl into a world dominated by men who might not appreciate her unique skills. The recruitment office was buzzing with activity when Maria walked in on a Tuesday morning in March. Young men filled out paperwork while discussing their dreams of becoming soldiers, pilots, and special forces operators. The recruiting sergeant, a weathered man with kind eyes, looked up when Maria approached his desk. He had seen many young women come through his office, most seeking support roles or technical positions. When Maria told him she wanted to be a marksman, he raised an eyebrow, but handed her the paperwork anyway. Basic training at Fort Benning was everything Maria had expected and more. The drill sergeants were tough, the days were long, and the physical demands pushed her to her limits. But when it came to weapons training, Maria stood out like a star in the night sky. While other recruits struggled to hit their targets consistently, Maria's shots found their mark with mechanical precision. Her drill sergeant, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, noticed her exceptional skills, but kept his observations to himself. The other recruits began to take notice too. At first, there were whispers and sideways glances. Some of the male recruits felt threatened by her abilities, while others were simply amazed. Maria didn't let the attention affect her focus. She had learned from her grandfather that shooting was as much about mental discipline as it was about physical skill. Every morning before dawn, while others slept, she would practice her breathing exercises and visualization techniques. During the 4th week of basic training, something happened that would change Maria's military trajectory forever. The company was conducting their weekly marksmanship qualification when a visiting colonel arrived to observe the training. Colonel James Mitchell was a decorated veteran with over 20 years of service, known throughout the military for his expertise in tactical operations and his no-nonsense approach to evaluating soldiers. Colonel Mitchell walked among the firing positions, observing each recruit's technique and performance. When he reached Maria's position, he paused. She was in the prone position, her rifle steady, breathing controlled, completely focused on her target. The colonel watched as she fired a series of shots, each one finding the center of the target with remarkable consistency. After the qualification round was complete, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez approached Colonel Mitchell with the shooting scores. As he reviewed the results, the colonel's expression changed from casual interest to genuine surprise. Maria's score wasn't just good. It was exceptional, surpassing even some of the scores he had seen from experienced marksmen. That evening, Colonel Mitchell requested a meeting with Maria. In his temporary office, surrounded by maps and military manuals, he asked her about her background and training. Maria told him about her grandfather, her father's influence, and her countless hours at the gun range back home. The colonel listened intently, occasionally asking questions about her techniques and mental approach to shooting. As their conversation continued, Colonel Mitchell found himself both impressed and skeptical. In his experience, Exceptional marksmanship required years of military training and combat experience. The idea that a young woman from a small Texas town could possess such natural ability seemed almost too good to be true. He had seen many promising recruits whose skills didn't translate to real-world scenarios. The colonel made a decision that would test Maria's abilities beyond the controlled environment of basic training. He arranged for her to participate in an advanced marksmanship evaluation that was typically reserved for more experienced soldiers. The test would take place the following week at a specialized range designed to simulate combat conditions. Word of the upcoming test spread quickly through the barracks. Some recruits were excited to see how Maria would perform under pressure, while others whispered that the colonel was setting her up for failure. Maria herself felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This was her chance to prove that her abilities were real and that she deserved to be taken seriously as a soldier. The night before the test, Maria called her father from the payphone outside the barracks. She told him about the opportunity and her nervousness. Her father's voice was steady and reassuring as he reminded her of all the hours they had practiced together, all the lessons he had taught her about staying calm under pressure. He told her that he believed in her abilities and that she should trust in her training. As Maria hung up the phone and walked back to the barracks, she felt a renewed sense of confidence. Tomorrow would be more than just a test of her marksmanship skills. It would be a test of everything she had learned about herself, her capabilities, and her place in the military. She had no idea that this test would become the first chapter in a story that would eventually make her a legend among military marksmen. The advanced marksmanship range was unlike anything Maria had ever seen. Located in a secluded area of the training facility, it featured multiple shooting positions at varying distances, moving targets, and environmental obstacles designed to challenge even the most experienced marksmen. As Maria arrived that morning, she saw several seasoned soldiers already preparing their equipment, their faces showing the confidence that came from years of military service. Colonel Mitchell stood near the range control tower, clipboard in hand, watching as the participants prepared for the evaluation. He had designed this particular test himself, drawing from his combat experience in Afghanistan and Iraq. The test wasn't just about accuracy. It measured a soldier's ability to adapt quickly to changing conditions, maintain precision under time pressure, and demonstrate the kind of split-second decision-making that could mean the difference between life and death in combat. Maria set up her equipment at the designated firing position, her hands steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. She had brought her service rifle, the same M4 carbine she had been training with throughout basic training. Unlike some of the other participants who had customized weapons with advanced optics and modifications, Maria's rifle was standard issue. She preferred it that way, believing that true marksmanship came from the shooter, not the equipment. The first phase of the test involved precision shooting at stationary targets placed at distances ranging from 100 to 500 meters. Each participant had a limited amount of time to engage all targets, with points awarded based on accuracy and speed. Maria watched as the first few soldiers completed their runs, noting their techniques and the scores announced by the range officer. When her turn came, Maria approached the firing line with quiet confidence. She had learned from her grandfather that the key to successful shooting was to block out all distractions and focus entirely on the fundamentals: proper stance, sight alignment, breathing control, and trigger squeeze. As the range officer gave the command to begin, Maria settled into her shooting position and began engaging the targets. The rifle felt like an extension of her body as she moved from target to target. Her breathing was controlled, her movements fluid and efficient. Each shot was fired with deliberate precision, the rifle's report echoing across the range as bullet after bullet found its mark. The observers, including Colonel Mitchell, watched in growing amazement as Maria demonstrated shooting skills that seemed almost supernatural. When the range officer called time, Maria set her rifle down and waited for the results. The scoring system was computerized, calculating both accuracy and time to determine an overall score. As the numbers appeared on the display board, A murmur of surprise rippled through the group of observers. Maria had not only achieved perfect accuracy on all targets, but had done so in record time. Colonel Mitchell walked over to review the results more closely. He had seen many excellent marksmen during his career, but Maria's performance was in a class by itself. Her accuracy was flawless, and her speed was faster than soldiers with years more experience. He found himself questioning whether the scoring system had malfunctioned, but a quick check confirmed that the results were accurate. The second phase of the test introduced moving targets and wind conditions designed to simulate combat scenarios. Participants had to engage targets that appeared at random intervals, moving at different speeds and directions. This phase separated the good shooters from the exceptional ones, requiring not just accuracy, but the ability to calculate leads, compensate for environmental factors, and make rapid adjustments. Maria approached this phase with the same methodical preparation she had used for the stationary targets. She studied the wind flags positioned around the range, noting the direction and intensity of the breeze. She mentally calculated the adjustments she would need to make for the moving targets, drawing on principles her father had taught her during their hunting trips when she was younger. As the targets began appearing, Maria engaged them with stunning efficiency. Her rifle tracked the moving targets smoothly, each shot timed perfectly to intercept the target's path. The complexity of the shots seemed to energize rather than intimidate her. She found herself entering a state of focus so intense that everything else faded away, leaving only herself, her rifle, and the targets. The other participants watched in awe as Maria completed the moving target phase with the same devastating accuracy she had shown with the stationary targets. Even the most experienced soldiers among them had to admit that they were witnessing something extraordinary. Maria's performance wasn't just good. It was the kind of shooting that military instructors would talk about for years to come. Colonel Mitchell felt a mixture of excitement and disbelief as he watched Maria's performance. In all his years of military service, he had never seen a soldier demonstrate such natural ability. Her technique was flawless, her composure under pressure was remarkable, and her speed was simply breathtaking. Yet something in his military training made him skeptical of what he was seeing. During a brief break between phases, Colonel Mitchell approached some of the other observers to get their impressions. The range master, a grizzled veteran with over 15 years of experience conducting marksmanship training, shook his head in amazement. He told the colonel that in all his years at the range, he had never seen anyone shoot like Maria. Her combination of speed and accuracy was unprecedented. The final phase of the test was designed to be the most challenging. It combined all the elements of the previous phases while adding stress factors such as time pressure, physical exertion, and simulated combat noise. Participants had to complete a series of physical exercises before engaging targets at varying distances under strict time constraints. This phase was where even experienced soldiers often struggled, their accuracy declining as fatigue and stress took their toll. Maria completed the required physical exercises with determination, her breathing slightly elevated but still controlled. As she approached the firing line for the final phase, she took a moment to center herself, drawing on the mental preparation techniques she had developed over years of practice. She knew that this was her moment to prove that her abilities were real and that she belonged among the military's elite marksmen. The final targets appeared in rapid succession, each one requiring immediate engagement. Maria moved through the sequence like a dancer performing a carefully choreographed routine. Her rifle seemed to move on its own, finding each target with mechanical precision. The sound of her shots created a steady rhythm that spoke of absolute confidence and control. When the final target disappeared and the range officer called the ceasefire command, an unusual silence fell over the range. Maria set her rifle down and stood up, her face calm but her heart racing with adrenaline. She had given everything she had to this test, and now all she could do was wait for the results. As the final scores were calculated and displayed the silence was broken by gasps of amazement from the observers. Maria had not only achieved perfect scores in all three phases, but had set new record for speed that seemed almost impossible to believe. Colonel Mitchell stared at the results, his military mind struggling to accept what he was seeing. In his experience, such performance was simply not possible for a soldier with Maria's limited training and experience. Colonel Mitchell's skepticism grew as he stared at the impossible scores on the display board. His military career had taught him to trust facts and data, but these results challenged everything he knew about marksmanship development. No soldier, regardless of natural talent, could achieve such performance without years of specialized training and combat experience. There had to be an explanation, and he was determined to find it. That evening, Colonel Mitchell called a meeting with the range staff and reviewed every aspect of the testing equipment. They checked the target's sensors, verified the timing systems, and examined the scoring software for any possible malfunctions. Every system checked out perfectly. The equipment had functioned exactly as designed, accurately recording Maria's unprecedented performance. Still unconvinced, Colonel Mitchell decided to investigate Maria's background more thoroughly. He contacted her drill sergeants, reviewed her training records, and even made calls to her hometown in Texas. What he discovered only deepened the mystery. Everyone who knew Maria confirmed her exceptional shooting abilities, but none could explain how someone so young and inexperienced could perform at such an elite level. The colonel's investigation led him to Old Pete, the owner of Maria's home gun range. During their phone conversation, Pete described years of watching Maria develop her skills, her dedication to practice, and her natural understanding of shooting fundamentals. Pete mentioned something that caught the colonel's attention: Maria's uncanny ability to maintain perfect accuracy, even when shooting rapidly, a skill that typically took professional marksmen years to develop. Despite the evidence supporting Maria's abilities, Colonel Mitchell remained skeptical. His military experience had taught him that exceptional claims required exceptional proof. He had seen too many soldiers whose range performance didn't translate to real-world effectiveness. In his mind, there was only one way to truly test Maria's abilities: put her in a scenario that would push her skills to their absolute limits. Colonel Mitchell designed a special challenge that would either prove Maria's abilities beyond any doubt or expose them as somehow artificial. He arranged for a demonstration using the military's most advanced training simulator, a system designed to test special forces operatives and elite marksmen. The simulator created incredibly realistic scenarios that required split-second decision-making, rapid target acquisition, and flawless accuracy under extreme pressure. When Maria received word about the special demonstration, she felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She understood that her performance had raised doubts, and that this test was designed to either validate or debunk her abilities. The weight of proving herself to Colonel Mitchell and the military establishment felt enormous, but she also felt confident in her skills. The demonstration was scheduled for the following Friday, and word spread quickly throughout the military community. Senior officers, training instructors, and marksmanship specialists from across the base requested permission to observe. What had started as a simple evaluation had evolved into a major military event that would determine Maria's future in the armed forces. During the days leading up to the demonstration, Maria maintained her regular training routine while dealing with increasing pressure and attention. Fellow soldiers approached her with mixtures of curiosity, admiration, and skepticism. Some offered encouragement and support, while others expressed doubts about her abilities or made comments about the fairness of giving special attention to a female recruit. The night before the demonstration, Maria's father called to offer his support and encouragement. During their conversation, he reminded her of a hunting trip they had taken when she was 15 years old. They had encountered a group of wild boars, and Maria had needed to make several rapid, accurate shots to protect them both. Her father told her that her performance that day had convinced him that she possessed something special, a combination of natural ability and mental strength that couldn't be taught. Colonel Mitchell spent the evening before the demonstration reviewing the simulator scenarios he had selected. He had chosen 5 different challenges, each designed to test a specific aspect of marksmanship under pressure. The scenarios included urban combat situations, long-range precision shots, multiple moving targets, and split-second decision-making challenges that would test Maria's judgment as well as her shooting skills. The demonstration began at 0800 hours in the Advanced Training Facility's main simulator room. The gathered observers included generals, colonels, and some of the military's most respected marksmanship instructors. The atmosphere was tense with anticipation as Maria entered the room, carrying her rifle case and wearing her standard military fatigues. Colonel Mitchell addressed the assembled group, explaining the purpose of the demonstration and outlining the scenarios that would be presented. He emphasized that the simulator had been calibrated to military standards and that the challenges were equivalent to those faced by the military's most elite units. His tone suggested that he expected Maria to struggle with the advanced scenarios. As Maria prepared her equipment and familiarized herself with the simulator controls, she could feel the weight of dozens of eyes upon her. The pressure was unlike anything she had experienced during her previous tests. These weren't just training officers evaluating a recruit. These were senior military leaders whose opinions could shape her entire career. The first scenario placed Maria in an urban combat environment where she needed to identify and engage hostile targets while avoiding civilian casualties. The simulator projected realistic images and sounds that created an immersive experience requiring rapid decision-making and precise shooting. As the scenario began, Maria settled into her shooting position and prepared to demonstrate her abilities under the most demanding conditions she had ever faced. The hostile targets appeared without warning, requiring Maria to distinguish between threats and innocent civilians in split seconds. Her rifle moved smoothly from target to target, each shot placed with surgical precision. The observers watched in amazement as Maria navigated the complex scenario with ease, her movements fluid and confident despite the enormous pressure. When the first scenario concluded, the results showed perfect accuracy with remarkable speed. Maria had successfully engaged all hostile targets while avoiding any civilian casualties, completing the scenario faster than most Special Forces operatives. Colonel Mitchell checked the results multiple times, his skepticism beginning to waver in the face of such consistent performance. The second scenario tested Maria's long-range precision shooting abilities in simulated outdoor conditions with wind and environmental factors. The targets were placed at distances exceeding 800 meters, requiring calculations and adjustments that typically challenged even experienced snipers. Maria studied the environmental data briefly before settling into position and beginning her engagement sequence. Each long-range shot found its mark with devastating accuracy. Maria's ability to calculate wind compensation, elevation adjustments, and target movement seemed almost instinctive. The military instructors in the audience exchanged glances of disbelief as they watched her demonstrate skills that usually required months of specialized sniper training to develop. As Maria completed the second scenario with perfect results, Colonel Mitchell found his skepticism gradually transforming into genuine amazement. The evidence was becoming overwhelming that Maria possessed abilities that were truly extraordinary. However, he had prepared his most challenging scenarios for last, determined to push her skills to their absolute limits before making any final judgments about her capabilities. The third scenario was designed to break even the most experienced marksman. Colonel Mitchell had personally programmed this challenge based on his most difficult combat experiences in Afghanistan. The simulation presented a rapidly changing battlefield where multiple threats appeared simultaneously from different directions, distances, and elevations. Traditional military doctrine suggested engaging such targets methodically, prioritizing threats based on distance and danger level. But Maria was about to prove that sometimes traditional doctrine wasn't fast enough. As the scenario loaded, Maria studied the tactical display briefly, noting the potential engagement zones and likely threat vectors. Unlike previous scenarios, this one would require her to move between multiple firing positions while maintaining accuracy under extreme time pressure. The clock was running, and every second of delay could result in simulated casualties among her virtual teammates. The first wave of targets appeared in rapid succession, 3 hostile fighters positioned at different ranges and angles. Maria's rifle seemed to dance in her hands as she engaged each target in a fluid sequence that defied conventional shooting wisdom. Instead of the deliberate, methodical approach taught in military marksmanship courses, Maria moved with an almost supernatural speed that maintained perfect accuracy. Colonel Mitchell leaned forward in his observation chair, his experienced eye trying to follow Maria's shooting sequence. What he was witnessing challenged his fundamental understanding of marksmanship. No one could accurately engage targets at that speed while maintaining such precision. Yet the simulator's sensors confirmed that each shot had found its mark exactly where intended. The second wave introduced moving targets and simulated explosions that would typically disrupt a shooter's concentration and aim. Maria seemed unaffected by the chaos, her focus absolute as she tracked and engaged targets that were moving at different speeds and directions. Her rifle's muzzle never seemed to pause, flowing from target to target with mechanical precision. General Patricia Hayes, who had served as a special operations commander for over a decade, whispered to Colonel Mitchell that she had never seen anything like Maria's performance. The general had worked with some of the military's most elite marksmen, including members of special forces units and competitive shooting teams. None of them had demonstrated the combination of speed and accuracy that Maria was displaying. As the scenario progressed, the challenges intensified. Targets appeared at extreme ranges while others emerged at close quarters, requiring Maria to rapidly adjust between different shooting techniques and sight pictures. The simulator added environmental factors like smoke and dust that reduced visibility, conditions that would normally degrade shooting performance significantly. Maria adapted to each new challenge seamlessly. When smoke obscured distant targets, she demonstrated an almost mystical ability to place shots accurately through brief clearings in the haze. When close-range threats emerged suddenly, her rifle snapped to the new target with lightning speed, placing precise shots that neutralized threats instantly. The fourth scenario tested Maria's ability to make ethical decisions under pressure. The simulator presented ambiguous situations where potential threats might be civilians or enemies, requiring split-second judgment calls that could have life-or-death consequences. This scenario had been designed to evaluate not just shooting skills, but the mental discipline and decision-making ability essential for military operations. Maria navigated the ethical challenges with the same precision she applied to her shooting. Her decisions were quick, but thoughtful, demonstrating an understanding of rules of engagement and threat assessment that impressed the observing officers. When she did engage targets, her shots were placed with surgical precision that would minimize collateral damage, even in the most complex scenarios. Colonel Mitchell found himself completely absorbed in Maria's performance. His skepticism had evolved into genuine amazement, then into something approaching awe. What Maria was demonstrating went beyond exceptional marksmanship. She was displaying a level of tactical understanding and combat instinct that typically required years of field experience to develop. The final scenario was Colonel Mitchell's masterpiece, a challenge he had designed to push the limits of human capability. It combined all the elements of the previous scenarios while adding layers of complexity that would challenge even computer-assisted targeting systems. Multiple threats appeared simultaneously at varying distances, some stationary, others moving in unpredictable patterns, all requiring engagement within an impossibly short time frame. As the final scenario began, a hush fell over the observation room. The assembled officers understood that they were witnessing something unprecedented in military training. Maria's previous performances had been impressive, but this final challenge would determine whether her abilities were truly superhuman or simply exceptional. The targets appeared like a deadly fireworks display, emerging from unexpected positions and angles across the simulated battlefield. Maria's response was immediate and devastating. Her rifle moved in a continuous, flowing motion that seemed to anticipate where targets would appear before they became visible. Each shot was fired with perfect timing and placement, creating a rhythm of destruction that left the observer speechless. What happened next would become legend in military marksmanship circles. 5 targets appeared simultaneously at different ranges and positions, a scenario designed to be impossible for a single shooter to engage effectively. Military doctrine called for team-based engagement of such multiple threats, with different shooters assigned to specific zones. Maria saw the 5 targets and made a decision that defied all conventional wisdom. Instead of prioritizing threats based on doctrine, she engaged all 5 targets in rapid succession. Her rifle moved faster than the human eye could easily follow, the muzzle finding each target with mechanical precision. 5 shots fired in less than 3 seconds, each one placed exactly where it needed to be. The simulator's sensors confirmed what the observers could barely believe. All 5 targets had been neutralized with perfect accuracy in a time frame that seemed physically impossible. The room erupted in amazed murmurs as officers struggled to comprehend what they had witnessed. Colonel Mitchell stood up slowly, his face showing a mixture of amazement and disbelief. He walked to the simulator control console and personally verified the results, checking and rechecking the data to ensure there had been no malfunction. Every system confirmed the same impossible truth. Maria had just accomplished something that challenged the basic understanding of human capability. As Maria set down her rifle and turned to face the observation room, she saw a group of senior military officers staring at her with expressions ranging from awe to confusion. Colonel Mitchell approached her slowly, his previous skepticism completely replaced by genuine respect and amazement. The colonel extended his hand to Maria, his voice filled with respect as he congratulated her on a performance that would be talked about for decades. He admitted that he had designed the scenarios to challenge her abilities, expecting to expose limitations or flaws in her technique. Instead, he had witnessed shooting skills that redefined his understanding of human potential. General Hayes approached Maria with an expression of professional curiosity. She asked Maria to explain her shooting technique, particularly her ability to engage multiple targets so rapidly while maintaining perfect accuracy. Maria's response was characteristically humble. She explained that her approach was simply to trust her training and let her instincts guide her movements. As word of Maria's performance spread throughout the military base, she became an instant celebrity among military marksmen. Officers who had heard about the demonstration but hadn't witnessed it personally sought her out for details about her technique and training background. Maria found herself overwhelmed by the attention, but remained focused on her goal of proving that she deserved a place among the military's elite units. The weeks following Maria's extraordinary demonstration transformed her military career in ways she had never imagined possible. Colonel Mitchell, now completely convinced of her abilities, submitted a detailed report to the Pentagon recommending Maria for immediate assignment to the military's most elite marksmanship programs. The report described her performance as unprecedented in modern military history and recommended that she be fast-tracked for special operations training. Within days of the report submission, Maria received orders that shocked everyone who knew her. Instead of completing standard basic training with her unit, she was being transferred immediately to the Army Marksmanship Unit at Fort Benning, a specialized program reserved for the military's most exceptional shooters. The transfer came with a promotion and assignment to work directly with the military's top marksmanship instructors. The Army Marksmanship Unit was unlike anything Maria had experienced during her military training. The facility housed some of the most advanced shooting ranges and training equipment in the world, and the soldiers assigned there were considered the cream of the military shooting community. Many had Olympic-level competitive experience, while others had distinguished themselves in combat operations around the world. Maria's arrival at the unit created quite a stir among the veteran marksmen. Word of her demonstration had spread throughout the military marksmanship community, and many were curious to see if her abilities were as extraordinary as reported. Some welcomed her with enthusiasm, excited to work with someone whose skills had become legendary. Others remained skeptical, believing that the reports of her performance had been exaggerated. Sergeant Major Robert Thompson, the unit's senior instructor, had served as a military marksman for over 20 years and had trained hundreds of soldiers in advanced shooting techniques. He had read Colonel Mitchell's report with professional interest, but maintained healthy skepticism about Maria's supposed abilities. In his experience, exceptional range performance didn't always translate to real-world effectiveness. Thompson decided to evaluate Maria's abilities personally before making any judgments about her potential. He designed a series of challenges that would test not just her shooting skills, but her ability to function as part of a military team. The challenges included scenarios requiring communication with spotters, coordination with other shooters, and adaptation to changing mission parameters. Maria approached these new challenges with the same focused determination she had shown throughout her military training. She worked diligently to learn the communication protocols and team tactics that were essential for military operations. Her shooting skills remained flawless, but Thompson was more interested in her ability to integrate those skills into effective military operations. During her first month with the unit, Maria participated in advanced training exercises that simulated real-world military scenarios. These exercises were designed to test soldiers under conditions that closely replicated the stress and complexity of actual combat operations. Maria's performance consistently exceeded expectations, but what impressed Thompson most was her ability to maintain effectiveness while working as part of a team. The turning point came during a complex training exercise that simulated a hostage rescue operation. Maria was assigned as the primary marksman for a team tasked with neutralizing multiple threats while ensuring the safety of simulated hostages. The scenario required precise shooting, perfect timing, and flawless coordination with other team members. As the exercise began, Maria settled into her designated shooting position and began coordinating with her spotter and team leader. The targets were positioned at various ranges and angles, some partially concealed behind cover that also protected the simulated hostages. Any mistake could result in simulated casualties among the people they were supposed to protect. When the team leader gave the signal to engage, Maria demonstrated why Colonel Mitchell had recommended her for special assignment. Working in perfect coordination with her spotter, she engaged multiple targets in rapid succession. Her shots were placed with surgical precision, neutralizing threats instantly while ensuring the complete safety of all simulated hostages. Sergeant Major Thompson watched the exercise from the observation post, his professional eye evaluating every aspect of Maria's performance. What he saw convinced him that the reports of her abilities had not been exaggerated. Maria wasn't just an exceptional individual shooter. She was a complete military marksman capable of functioning effectively in the most demanding operational scenarios. Following the exercise, Thompson called Maria to his office for a debriefing session. During their conversation, he asked her about her mental approach to shooting under pressure and her techniques for maintaining accuracy in complex scenarios. Maria's responses revealed a depth of understanding about marksmanship that impressed even the veteran instructor. Thompson's evaluation report recommended Maria for assignment to the military's most elite special operations units. He wrote that her combination of natural ability, mental discipline, and tactical understanding made her an ideal candidate for missions requiring exceptional marksmanship skills. The report would eventually reach the desks of commanders responsible for the military's most sensitive operations. Within 6 months of joining the Army Marksmanship Unit, Maria received an invitation that represented the pinnacle of military marksmanship achievement. She was selected to participate in the International Military Marksmanship Competition, an annual event where the world's best military shooters competed against each other in challenging scenarios designed to test the limits of human shooting ability. The competition took place at a specialized facility designed to host international military events. Participants included elite marksmen from dozens of countries, many with years of competitive experience and combat deployments. Maria was the youngest competitor and one of only a few women participating in the event, making her selection even more remarkable. The competition consisted of multiple events designed to test different aspects of marksmanship under various conditions. Events included precision shooting at extended ranges, rapid engagement of multiple targets, shooting under physical stress, and complex scenario-based challenges that required tactical decision-making as well as shooting skills. Maria's performance throughout the competition was nothing short of spectacular. She won every individual event she entered, often by margins that left other competitors and judges amazed. Her combination of speed and accuracy in the rapid engagement events broke several competition records that had stood for years. The final event of the competition was a team-based scenario that simulated a complex military operation requiring coordination between multiple shooters. Maria was paired with experienced competitors from other countries, and together they faced a challenge that tested their ability to work as a cohesive unit while maintaining individual excellence. During this final event, Maria demonstrated not just her individual shooting skills, but her ability to elevate the performance of her entire team. Her tactical suggestions and precise shooting enabled the team to complete their mission with a level of success that impressed even the competition judges, many of whom were veteran military officers with decades of operational experience. When the competition concluded, Maria had not only won the individual championship, but had also led her team to victory in the team competition. Her performance earned her recognition as one of the finest military marksmen in the world, an achievement that seemed impossible for someone who had been a civilian just months earlier. Years later, Colonel Mitchell would often tell the story of the young woman who had proven him wrong in the most spectacular way possible. He would describe how his initial laughter at her speed had quickly transformed into amazement and respect. Maria's story became a legend within military marksmanship circles, inspiring countless young soldiers to push the boundaries of their own potential. Maria's military career continued to flourish as she took on increasingly challenging assignments that utilized her extraordinary abilities. She became an instructor herself, passing on her knowledge and techniques to new generations of military marksmen. Her story served as proof that exceptional talent, when combined with dedication and proper training, could achieve things that seemed impossible to those who had never witnessed true excellence in action. The colonel who had once laughed at her speed became one of Maria's strongest supporters and advocates throughout her career. Their relationship evolved from skepticism and testing to mutual respect and professional admiration. Maria's success validated Colonel Mitchell's decision to give her the opportunity to prove herself, while his willingness to be proven wrong demonstrated the kind of leadership that allows exceptional individuals to flourish in military service. Maria Santos had always been different from other girls in her small Texas town. While her friends painted their nails and talked about boys, she spent her afternoons in the backyard with her grandfather's old rifle, practicing her aim on tin cans lined up on the fence. Her father, a former Marine, had taught her to shoot when she was just 8 years old. He said it was important for a girl to know how to protect herself, but Maria discovered something more than protection in those shooting sessions. She found her calling. The local gun range became Maria's second home. Every weekend, she would arrive early in the morning when the dew was still fresh on the grass, carrying her rifle case and a determined expression. The range owner, Old Pete, had watched her grow from a scrawny kid who could barely hold a rifle steady to a teenager who could hit a target at 300 yards without breaking a sweat. Pete often shook his head in amazement, telling anyone who would listen that he had never seen natural talent like Maria's. When Maria turned 18, she made a decision that shocked her entire family. Instead of accepting the scholarship to study nursing at the local college, she announced that she wanted to join the military. Her mother cried for 3 days straight, convinced that her daughter was throwing her life away. Her father, though proud, worried about sending his little girl into a world dominated by men who might not appreciate her unique skills. The recruitment office was buzzing with activity when Maria walked in on a Tuesday morning in March. Young men filled out paperwork while discussing their dreams of becoming soldiers, pilots, and special forces operators. The recruiting sergeant, a weathered man with kind eyes, looked up when Maria approached his desk. He had seen many young women come through his office, most seeking support roles or technical positions. When Maria told him she wanted to be a marksman, he raised an eyebrow, but handed her the paperwork anyway. Basic training at Fort Benning was everything Maria had expected and more. The drill sergeants were tough, the days were long, and the physical demands pushed her to her limits. But when it came to weapons training, Maria stood out like a star in the night sky. While other recruits struggled to hit their targets consistently, Maria's shots found their mark with mechanical precision. Her drill sergeant, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, noticed her exceptional skills, but kept his observations to himself. The other recruits began to take notice too. At first, there were whispers and sideways glances. Some of the male recruits felt threatened by her abilities, while others were simply amazed. Maria didn't let the attention affect her focus. She had learned from her grandfather that shooting was as much about mental discipline as it was about physical skill. Every morning before dawn, while others slept, she would practice her breathing exercises and visualization techniques. During the 4th week of basic training, something happened that would change Maria's military trajectory forever. The company was conducting their weekly marksmanship qualification when a visiting colonel arrived to observe the training. Colonel James Mitchell was a decorated veteran with over 20 years of service, known throughout the military for his expertise in tactical operations and his no-nonsense approach to evaluating soldiers. Colonel Mitchell walked among the firing positions, observing each recruit's technique and performance. When he reached Maria's position, he paused. She was in the prone position, her rifle steady, breathing controlled, completely focused on her target. The colonel watched as she fired a series of shots, each one finding the center of the target with remarkable consistency. After the qualification round was complete, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez approached Colonel Mitchell with the shooting scores. As he reviewed the results, the colonel's expression changed from casual interest to genuine surprise. Maria's score wasn't just good. It was exceptional, surpassing even some of the scores he had seen from experienced marksmen. That evening, Colonel Mitchell requested a meeting with Maria. In his temporary office, surrounded by maps and military manuals, he asked her about her background and training. Maria told him about her grandfather, her father's influence, and her countless hours at the gun range back home. The colonel listened intently, occasionally asking questions about her techniques and mental approach to shooting. As their conversation continued, Colonel Mitchell found himself both impressed and skeptical. In his experience, exceptional marksmanship required years of military training and combat experience. The idea that a young woman from a small Texas town could possess such natural ability seemed almost too good to be true. He had seen many promising recruits whose skills didn't translate to real-world scenarios. The colonel made a decision that would test Maria's abilities beyond the controlled environment of basic training. He arranged for her to participate in an advanced marksmanship evaluation that was typically reserved for more experienced soldiers. The test would take place the following week at a specialized range designed to simulate combat conditions. Word of the upcoming test spread quickly through the barracks. Some recruits were excited to see how Maria would perform under pressure, while others whispered that the colonel was setting her up for failure. Maria herself felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This was her chance to prove that her abilities were real and that she deserved to be taken seriously as a soldier. The night before the test, Maria called her father from the payphone outside the barracks. She told him about the opportunity and her nervousness. Her father's voice was steady and reassuring as he reminded her of all the hours they had practiced together, all the lessons he had taught her about staying calm under pressure. He told her that he believed in her abilities and that she should trust in her training. As Maria hung up the phone and walked back to the barracks, she felt a renewed sense of confidence. Tomorrow would be more than just a test of her marksmanship skills. It would be a test of everything she had learned about herself, her capabilities, and her place in the military. She had no idea that this test would become the first chapter in a story that would eventually make her a legend among military marksmen.